Welcome to the Siljander Podcast, where you will find actionable tips, tricks, and strategies for the millennials. In this show, we will dive into content that will teach you how to live with more ease, confidence, and authenticity. Here we will start with a foundation of compassion for ourselves, and then spread that compassion to others. We believe that this chain of acceptance and fortitude can radically change our families, communities, and beyond. And I am your host, Laura Siljander, yoga teacher, mental health coach, outdoor enthusiast, and lover of red wine. So grab your headphones and get ready to learn, grow, and to be inspired to live a life filled with intention and wellness. If you like the show, follow me on Instagram at practice_compassion, or check out my website, laurasiljander.com. I am so glad you are here, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hi, welcome back to the Siljander Podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend it with me. That means a lot to me. It really does. I recently just came back from Bonnaroo. Wild experience. Good experience. Very wild. And now we're packing up to head out west. So today is all about getting all the food we need and all the tiny little things that one could think of to leave for about a month and a half. And we're going to go from North Carolina to Utah, spend a lot of time in Colorado, do a lot of hiking, biking, hanging out. It's going to be awesome. So stay tuned. I'll be updating you on the gram with all the wild places that we have seen and been, and maybe, just maybe, it could be a place that you visit one day if it strikes your fancy. So we're packing up our 16-foot trailer named Cooper. She is a scamp, and we're just going to be living out of it for the next month and a half. It's going to be super awesome. So that's enough about me. Let's get on to the Spiritual Jelly series. This is the second episode of the Spiritual Jelly series, and wowzers, I feel like I have opened up a huge can of worms. I'm in Pandora's box, and I have fallen into the rabbit hole of the topic of modern day spirituality. It's super fun, it's exciting, it's overwhelming, and it's very, very thought-provoking. And so let's get ready to rumble. Let's do this, shall we? So again, this is the second episode in the Spiritual Jelly series. So if you missed the first one, I would maybe pause it and go back. However, every time I listen to a podcast, I pause it and listen to the last one. I never do. So maybe if you haven't heard the first episode, perhaps listening to it after. But I'll summarize it super quick that I am just trying to explore this idea of modern day spirituality, but more free from religious ideologies. I feel like religion has a pretty negative stigma. It's got a lot of bad rap around it, and I just want to be a spiritual person, yet I don't really feel like I fit into any religions. So can I still have an afterlife? Can I still connect to a higher power? And I think those answers are heck yes. Yes, we can. But how? So this is just my musings on what I have read, researched, the people I've talked to. And this isn't truths. These are just offerings and suggestions. So I really I'm begging you to take what you want, and whatever doesn't click with you, just leave it behind. To me, these are some of my truths, and it doesn't have to be your truths. That is not what this is about. This is literally just exploring some really deep ideas on spirituality in the modern day, free from right and wrong and things like that. I'm not a preacher. I'm none of that stuff. I'm just someone on this journey with you, and I want to do it together as a community. And if there are any ideas or topics that you want me to cover in the Spiritual Jelly series, please reach out on my website, on Instagram, go into my DMs, whatever, or however you want to get a hold of me. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear back. So during this deep dive of Spiritual Jelly, I kept coming across a word that showed up in all spiritual systems. This common denominator, this pattern was the soul. Yes, the soul. Things like, if you're a Christian, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. There is a mind, body, and soul connection and union. The soul leaves the body after death, while the body stays here. pretty much the soul was everywhere. But I thought, wait a minute, what is the soul exactly? It's not an organ or an artery that is located in the body somewhere. It's not something tangible at all. Yet it's showing up everywhere I read and listen to and am watching. I hear preachers, teachers, yoga instructors talk about the soul. So if you're willing to be open about the concept of maybe us all having a soul, let's get a little bit deeper, shall we? So again, you may hear yoga teachers, preachers, pastors, fathers, ministers, rabbis, etc. talk about the soul. So looking into it, I was looking at some yogic philosophy, some Hindu philosophy, and the soul is referred to as Atman. It's a Sanskrit word, and it also means true self. I'm like, well, that sounds nice, but I don't really understand still, so that didn't really help me very much. So, okay, I'm going to keep diving deep. So the soul in Hebrew is nephesh, which means the spiritual nature of humans. And I thought about that one for a little bit, and it cranked my rational brain into gear. The spiritual nature of humans. Just like the soul is not a tangible item, neither is spirituality, at least not most of the time. There are miracles that can happen that are a little bit more tangible, I presume, but spirituality as a whole, soul as a whole, isn't really something that you can touch. I sat with this for a few days, trying to put these things together, trying to put the pieces together. I literally sat for days just swirling through this thought of soul and the spiritual nature of humans, trying to put that together because I thought that there could be some kind of connection. And as my study continued, another parallel or pattern surfaced across many faiths and belief systems that could be worth mentioning. Many alluded to having something powerful inside of us. Something powerful like an inner guru or teacher, or as some Christian faiths refer to it as the Holy Spirit is inside of us, or all the answers that we seek are already inside of us. I kept noticing that we had this inner place. We were all blessed with this inherent wisdom. The pattern seemed like we all have a wise teacher within. Could this be connected to our soul? Is the question I had. The rational brain turned on again, and I thought, okay, what are some unexplainable experiences that evoked something deeper than an emotional response? Something that felt like I was rocked to the core. An internal state that is so hard to put into words, but that really touched me on a deep level, that maybe brought out a spiritual teacher, a wisdom, a truth, but evoked something very deep inside of me, past just an emotional state of mind. So I thought about what are some of these experiences I've had. Well, when I saw my nephew's birth, sometimes I have felt this way, this outer body experience in some of my meditations, where I lose all sense of time. Looking into a dolphin's eye when I'm out surfing, I'll never forget that. Or when I sometimes touch the red rocks of Moab. These evoke such a deep feeling beyond emotion that I can barely put into words. So can you think of moments or experiences like this that you have had? A feeling of something inside of you just sparking, or a flow-like state, or an out-of-body experience that you're connected with something so much bigger than you, something higher. Can you think of anything that you have experienced? And then I thought, that could be something that I've referred to as holy ground. That's holy ground right there that we're experiencing. Could my soul be my internal holy ground, where my higher power shows me a glimpse of what the afterlife could be? Can the soul or the holy ground be a place where spirituality lives within me? Could it be a place where my higher power can communicate with me? And then, just like that, my inner teacher went, yes, 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 that's it. Talk about some woo-woo stuff, but it just resonated so deeply within me. My soul is my spiritual ground within me, or maybe, just maybe, my higher power is communicating with me, or reassuring me that I'm okay, or giving me a word that I need, or just a simple, you're on the right track. My inner teacher said yes, but I was able to recognize my inner teacher because it sounded like something I've heard before, such as, if you've ever been driving and you have this intuition that you should probably take the left and take the longer way to work rather than going right. You don't know why, but it's this deep longing inside of you, this intuition so you turn left. Or maybe another example could be that inner teacher telling you, hey, you need to call your friend or your sister. She really needs to talk to you. And so you call her up and she says, wow, I was just about to call. Or wow, I really was just thinking about you. I need to talk to you, or I want to talk to you. It's that inner teacher that we can't touch, but when we go against that gut feeling, that inner teacher, usually there are ramifications that are negative. But when we tap into that, when we listen to that inner teacher, I have found, at least in my life, I don't know about yours, more times than not, that it's been the right decision. So it's that voice, it's that teacher, it's that space, it's that holy ground. Most of us have heard the quote, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Perhaps human experiences are so loud and busy that we cannot hear our inner teacher. We cannot assess our holy ground or our soul. Therefore, spirituality sounds strange, distant, and uncomfortable. Perhaps starting to water and fertilize your holy ground could be the first step. Just a quick side note, I'm using holy ground and soul very interchangeably. So a place to start could be to really think, when was the last time you felt that special connection that runs beyond emotion, where you feel completely present, but also a sense of being carried away, where maybe you were able to hear or ask questions, or perhaps you were so present that every care or worry seemed only to exist in your peripherals and not front and center. What were you doing, or what were you experiencing? Are there any patterns or parallels to these experiences that you have had? I named a few of my own earlier, such as watching the birth of my nephew and being out in the ocean. In the past, I have called surfing, running, hiking, and my yoga practice my prayer language. My prayer language. By moving my body, it quiets my mind enough to connect to the God of my own understanding. Little did I know that I would come to find that my prayer language would also feed and grow my soul, my holy ground, so that it could be used to connect with my higher power. I used my prayer language. What could your prayer language be? Does it involve movement, sewing, walking, dance, singing, breathing, biking? What makes your body calm you down so that you can access your own spiritual ground? What will feed your soul? You find it in a church or a temple, or on your yoga mat, or outside, or maybe in your car. Where is your space where you can quiet your mind? There are 3 questions I want to leave you with today, maybe to start this process of watering and fertilizing your spiritual holy ground and soul within. These would be excellent journal prompts. Starting with 1. What do you think your soul is? It doesn't have to be my definition. It doesn't have to be anyone's definition. What is your definition of your soul? Number 2. Have you ever experienced being in your holy ground? If so, when? What were you doing? And number 3, what could be your own prayer language? If you need a little extra help with this, reflect question number 2 and see if there are any patterns or parallels there. All right, that was the 2nd episode of the Spiritual Jelly series about your soul and your spiritual ground and your prayer language. I hope you found this useful. Again, these are not truth, just musings, and I hope you can find your own truth maybe within these words. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support, and practice compassion with yourself first, and then maybe letting that compassion flow through you to someone else. Bye-bye now. Talk to you in a week or 2.